Welcome to the Lightspeed Investing Podcast. I'm so excited to bring on our esteemed guest today, where she is going to share her personal story and journey of why she got into becoming a practicing CPA that is now a tax practice owner as well. Amani, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Philip. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm super excited to speak to you. And, for me, right, and our audience listening, you're definitely very special because you actually enjoy CPA and you got into tax practice where I actually stayed away from it. I had the opportunity at the beginning to take over my dad's accounting firm in Hong Kong, but I was like, man, taxes is definitely not a thing for me. So, would you mind sharing with our audience? Like first and foremost, what intrigued you so much about, owning a tax or I guess doing taxes, right? And then eventually leading to what you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely, Philip. And once again, thank you for having me. I think as a young child and like a teenager, I always had this entrepreneurial spirit. I bought candy from 7-Eleven and sold it at in high school and middle school. So I was always looking for ways to make money. So in the back of my mind, I knew I was going to own something one day. Just didn't know what and when.
Mhm.
And funny enough, when I started school, I was on the path of becoming or going into the medical field. I really wanted to be a gynecologist, obstetricianist.
Oh,
Long,
wow.
long story short, I failed physics, I failed chemistry, and I was like, okay, this is not looking too good. Ultimately, changed to business management and had a wonderful professor, Simon Miniera at Bowie State University in Bowie, Maryland, just kind of counsel me about accounting and the accounting world and the benefits of being an accountant. And that kind of led the journey to me ultimately getting my CPA and my master's in taxation. Um, but while working in public accounting, sometimes you just know, like, this is the moment. And
Mm.
that's what it felt like for me in 2007 after that tax season. Is like, this is the moment and for me to branch out and start my own practice. So November 2007 is when I did. And here we are, almost 17
Wow. That
later.
that's great. So let's dive into that moment, right, that you are referring to. Oh, and by the way, why don't you let our audience know where you're chiming in from today? Has that location changed throughout your journey? And why don't you dive deeper in that?
Yeah, yeah. So, believe it or not, Philip, my parents are Egyptian immigrants. So
Mm.
I am I first generation Egyptian American born. So, but raised and born in the DC metropolitan area. So I've lived here DC when I was young until 3 years old and moved to Maryland and have been in Maryland since then. And yes, my practice is based in Maryland. I went to school locally around the DC and Maryland area. Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's amazing. I had no clue that was your background, right?
Yeah.
So moving, from I guess, or having that Egyptian background to now being in Maryland, you mentioned that one pivotal moment for you to go, okay, aside from learning how to do taxes, let's go ahead and own my practice, right? What was those trigger points, that allowed you to go, it's time to craft my own destiny?
Oh, good question. So that moment for me, I feel like I have a very strong work ethic. So while working in public accounting, I really took pride in my evaluations.
Mm.
And unfortunately, in the fall of 2006, I didn't have a good evaluation, and that bothered me because that was a follow up from a previous evaluation that was semi okay, and
Mhm.
I wasn't happy about that. But the fall of 2006 and that evaluation, what got to me was that some of the things that had been mentioned had already been corrected. And it didn't feel so it came to feel like it was more political than anything. And I represented less than 3% minority within the tax consulting group of the firm. So for me, I felt like, okay, this could be a telltale sign that it's time to move on and do something different. And we, public accounting gets a bad rap because it's known as a sweatshop. You're working, you know, day long hours and weekends and all of that, not having a life. And I really didn't want to go to another firm.
Mm,
So something in me just said, hey, this may be the time. I'd always had like family and friends taxes I was doing on the side
mm.
while I was in college, believe it or not. So um, got out of it, decided, okay. And I took some months, did my business plan, talked to a couple of colleagues, and then began the practice that fall.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And so for you now, how long have you been actually running this practice as a tax practice owner?
Going on 17 years.
Oh, wow. That's tremendous. That's a lot of experience, right? So what would you tell the audience, right? The wisdoms and challenges that you have garnered in the past 17 years as a not just a CPA doing people's taxes, but as a business owner trying to keep it all together now that you have the autonomy, right? But you also have to be able to lead yourself correctly.
Yeah. So I definitely believe like practice makes perfect. The more that time that you get to spend in the field, working under someone, shadowing someone, or working in public accounting, it does, create this solid foundation. Mastering yourself, knowing what your weaknesses are, not to say you need to perfect them, but I in running my practice, I was always trying to give people a deal and shorting myself, devaluing myself. So people wouldn't even ask me for tax preparation fee discounts, but I was willing to throw it out there because I just wanted them to pick me, right? Um, and over time, I realized like I'm bringing a lot to the table. I'm bringing a lot of value in terms of experience and knowledge, and I should be rightly compensated for that. So that knowing yourself, your weaknesses, being willing to put time and energy and even money into building your personal development, um, becoming more of an astute business owner by I like listening to YouTube. I like attending business conferences. So you don't get it overnight. Um, but over time you begin to evolve to kind of create this practice that you enjoy working in. And I'll say the last thing is having other colleagues, other people that you can kind of bounce ideas off of or refer business or receive referral business. So those would be my golden nuggets or things that I take so far from having the tax practice and the experience of owning one.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing, and I'm glad to hear that you finally learned not to diminish your own value, right? What really was the pivotal moment that you were like, I'm gonna stop giving out discounts, I am different, and these people who when they're looking in the marketplace, should feel great that they have me on their side as opposed to chasing after business.
Yeah, good question. I'd love to say it was just an epiphany. I woke up one day, but it was after having my son. Um, and in 2014, tax season 2015, I of course was in there early in the morning, there until late at night. And fortunately, he had his grandma down the street that could take care of him. She bathed him every day for me. So it was just a matter of scooping him up and taking him home and putting him to sleep with us. So fast forward from January 2015 to around May or right after tax season ended, I'm home with my son and I'm getting him changed after giving him a bath. I'm trying to put the onesie on and I'm like, what the heck? It's not coming on. I'm getting frustrated at the onesie. So I look at the onesie size and it's 6 months and my baby is 9 months. And I'm
Oh
just,
man.
whoa, you just lost all of that. So
Yeah.
from there, I made the decision that I needed to scale the practice. I needed to have more life balance. I love being a business owner. I love running a full-time practice, but I just had to also enjoy life and enjoy these precious moments. So this took me on a series of investing in different seminars, conferences, programs, and one of those programs taught me how to, charge my worth.
I love that. I love that. And you said you've been in business for 17 years, right? So how far along were you when this kind of hit you that you
Yeah,
got to know your worth?
yeah. So I started in November 2007. So about 8 years into the practice
I see.
that this came.
Well,
Hmm.
I'm glad that you realized, that was important. And it sounds to me like a lot of your motivation and drive, right, outside of the topic that interests you, right, inherently being taxes and these numbers, right, where you audit for your clients is your family and your son, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Family, son, health. We enjoy traveling. I am remarried, and my husband lives in France. So, just having the freedom to enjoy those parts of life where it's just not so consumed with having a practice, running a practice, taking care of clients, and managing staff. So that's correct, Philip.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their why, right?
Yeah.
So, for the listeners, when you document your journey, what would you say your top three advices are, right, to those who are listening? Either they are an aspiring CPA or they're a CPA who is looking to get out of the 9 to 5 and own their practice, or it be a current CPA owner, right? What would you say your top three advice to them is?
Yeah, I mean, the first one I would say you got to tune out the noise because there are so many people giving you advice and opinion, and especially family and friends, and they do it from a good place. They do it from a place of love, but they also do it from a sometimes a place of fear because they don't want you to get hurt. They don't want you to fail.
Hmm.
So it's almost like keep your 9 to 5, keep things the way that they are, status quo. Um, so don't bet on yourself. Don't venture out. Don't go in the path of least resistance, but you have to determine what's right for you. So when I decided that I wanted to have a full-time practice but work part-time hours, everybody thought I was crazy. Like, even, I remember having a conversation with my mom, who has a very strong work ethic. At one point in time in her life, she worked 3 jobs simultaneously.
Right.
She's like, "What are you doing?" She just knew that my world was going to come crashing in. And
Hmm.
not to say that I didn't have those fears myself, but I just had to honor, internally what I truly felt at that gut was that I can have a practice and still have an enjoyable life. And so I would say the first thing would be honor what you truly feel, and sometimes you have to keep it guarded where you can't tell anyone, um, because you're already doubtful. So by you sharing it, that's just going to completely crush you in terms of making any moves to go forward.
Hmm.
The second one is, before venturing out to get your practice, or even if you're trying to level up, get someone that know befriend someone, or seek out mentorship, or seek out guidance, or become their protege to understand the intricacy of that. So if you're working a 9 to 5, looking to start a practice, offer services for free during tax season. Yeah, it's more taxing on you, but you get to see the ins and out. I would do it for a small practice to see what it's like to run and manage a practice yourself, or be willing to pay consult time to talk and interview tax practice owners to, pick their brains about, running a practice and also leveling up. So if you're struggling to do 6 figures in your company, and others that are doing well, reach out to them, take them out for coffee, take them out for lunch, and have that conversation. Everything is attainable. It's just knowing the access and resources to getting it.
I love that. That's so common in when I speak to those who are successful in their own right in their industry. A recurring theme is always being willing to be open-minded to learn what it is that you don't know, to follow the guidance of someone who's been able to, follow the success blueprint and figure things out. and to compress your success rate, right, at a faster speed. And I also what I love hearing your story is the fact that you prioritize networking, right, and going out to events. What would you say is the most impactful type of investments that you have made in yourself? When you talked about that one event where you learn how to charge your own worth, right, and those seminars, so to speak.
Yeah, I've always been into personal development. So I've done like the Landmark Forum. I've done a couple of the late Bob Proctor events where I traveled up to Toronto and did some online courses and read a lot of books, listen to a lot of spiritual and personal development. So there are individuals that I follow, so I can't say it's one particular event or one thing. I just know the importance of personal development because how it's impacted me, subtle changes. And I'm like, okay, well, if you want more of that, you got to keep investing the time and energy and sometimes finances to see the results or better results as you as an Amani,
Mm.
trying to figure and navigate this world, being a practice owner and all of that.
I love that. For me, I remember, recognizing the importance of personal development, right? And but that didn't really hit me until my journey out of college. Like as I started to graduate, I was like, okay, how do I continue to enhance my own understanding of the world, whether it be business, investing, acumen, and so on, right? With formal education coming to an end. So for you, like, when did that spark hit that you have to continue to develop yourself with personal development?
Um, I would say probably when I started my professional career, because um, prior, the very first personal development course I took was the Landmark Forum,
Hmm.
and that was early 2000, or no, I'm sorry, mid 2000. Um, but I've always gravitated towards personal development. I would go into Barnes and Noble and just read books by like T.D. Jakes and
Hmm.
you know, I'm trying to think of the big guru that's he said that he's not a guru, Tony Robbins. I would have his CDs and listen to him on the way to work and so forth. So as long as I've been an adult, I've always gravitated, and even like yourself in my college years, just listening and reading books here
Mm.
and there. Yeah.
I think it's something that is more like a hardwiring, right? You just always want to be better and strive towards growth and excellence. Which kudos to you for recognizing that, and that's part of where success comes from, right? And so, obviously, speaking of that, you've been in business for 17 years. You've learned a lot, ups and downs. Whether it be learning how to charge your own worth properly, to understanding, okay, I will have a better opportunity if I didn't work for someone and I created a tax practice myself. So can you kind of share with the audience now, what are you up to? Having been in business for almost 2 decades, what are your focus and emphasis points? Of course, your son's probably a bit more grown now, right? So maybe things have changed, but we'd love to hear, what you're up to.
Yeah, I mean, since 2015, the path hasn't really changed much in the sense of freeing up my time, scaling the practice where it needs less of me. I won't say little of me, but less of me. Where there are people in place, there are processes in place, there are systems in place that can manage the clients. I'm still needed as well. But ultimately, being in a position where I don't have to give up, revenues to have less of me in the practice, less time of in the practice, but still finding opportunities to learn how to create income, build wealth. So it's been two parts, decreasing my input in the practice as well as finding or looking at opportunities that requires little time, but
Mm,
I can make a decent return on that time if it's investing my capital or so forth. So that's where I'm at right now, managing and keeping the practice, maintaining,
mm.
because we don't take on necessarily new clients, but also try creating a platform where I am investing, learning to invest, where I'm now making money, a different stream of income. So that's where I'm at today, Philip.
I love that. I love that. It's important to diversify your income sources, right, as you grow and scale. But of course, making sure you have your foundational pieces first before you split up your focus. So glad to hear that you are on this journey now, right? From you've obviously come a long way from when you started. For the listeners here, if they want to understand and get to know you better, right, whether it be a fellow CPA wanting to get some insights and mentorship from an established CPA and practice owner, what is the best way for the audience to reach out accordingly and be in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, I am on LinkedIn, under Amani Ahmed. I have a company aside from the tax practice, the CPA firm called Tax Practice Academy, where I do help mentor and consult, fellow practice owners in terms of building and helping them scale, get out of a place of burnout and overwhelmed. So you're welcome to check the website out. It's taxpracticeacademy.com. Or yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I'm also on Instagram under my name, and we have a business page for Tax Practice Academy as well.
That's amazing. And Amani, thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast here today. I'm excited to speak with you further as we're running out of time here, on your insights and acumen around investments, as I'm sure as a fellow CPA practice owner, you deal with that intricacies of doing taxes for different types of investments and how they differ. So I'd love to learn more about that. And I'm excited to continue the conversation with you on our next episode.
Sounds good, Philip. Thank you for having me today.
Of course, thank you. And I hope you have a great evening.
You as well. Thank you.